to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. Hot or cold, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with I won't say topic session. I probably could just say with a hangout and highlight session with my good friend Lorna Clark with the E. You saw me.
Got it.
Yeah. A good friend from my hometown. Really just want to show some love to her and what she's doing, her and her family. Really has been blessed and fortunate to achieve some really neat things. And man, I think it's really cool. She's like, Chip, it's work. Like, it's work for me, Chip. It's my job. I'm like, man, but it's so cool, right? So either way we look at it, we're gonna highlight her in this session here. We're just gonna hang out. Really just talk about her journey. I had an experience with some of her work, and I'll tell you about that. And then, have her, hit us with a couple stories that's been really neat for her. So, first, if you want to just kind of start, well, first, let me just say again, thank you for taking the time to hang out with me and just, giving me the opportunity to highlight what you do, although it's work.
I'm gonna stop saying that before people get the bad idea.
Yeah.
I do enjoy what I do. I really do.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's good stuff. So talk to us about your journey, kind of, currently, where you are and what you're doing, and then maybe, briefly talk about, how, you've gone from Texas to LA, to where you are now.
Yeah. So like Chip said, we have come a long way together from high school in Hearn, Texas. And I went to college in Denton, and I realized I want to pursue a writing career. And it's funny because I had a conversation with my husband. He's in TV and film as well. And we were talking about dreams and like teaching our kids that you can make your dreams come true if you just work hard. And I remember when I was coming to LA to be a writer, it's so funny. I didn't think of it as a dream. Like, I didn't even conceive of it as a dream. I literally thought, what do I want to do with my life? I was like, what do I want to do with my life? I'm like, do I want to be a lawyer? I'm like, I'm like, do I want to go into journalism? Because I knew I wanted to be a writer. I was like, do I want to write poetry all my life? And I was like, that don't pay the bills. Do I want to be a novelist? And I was like, what do you do in the interim? I couldn't figure out what you do in the interim while you're writing a novel, how you pay your bills. And I was like, well, I want to write for a living. Like, I want that to be my profession. I want to get paid for that. And so I was like, where does that happen? And then after, you do all your research and like, oh, all of this is in LA, and do some more reading and learning what the craft of TV and film is. I was like, okay, writing, that's a different kind of craft. I have to learn that style of writing and how to write that way, and understanding movies and the business. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make my dream come true. And if the dream doesn't, it was just like, okay, I'm going to get a job in this area. And what do I have to do that? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so I just might need to move up. Oh, okay. I don't know anybody. Like, I don't have any cousins or, uncles or whoever to ask. Okay. So this is what I have to do. Oh, okay. I'm going to get in where I fit in. Like, that was just the mentality. It wasn't like, I don't know. It was so funny when my husband said, oh, like when your mommy went to California to make her dreams come true. And I was like, was it like, it just didn't seem like it wasn't not going to happen. That's what it was.
I was
like,
that.
No, there's no such thing as a fleeting dream. Like, no. I'm
like
going
failure don't exist. Like, I'm like that's not even an option.
Yeah. It wasn't even like, I accept failure as just a learning process. I don't see it as failure. It's just learning. Like, oh, this is what I set out to do. And okay, I may have fell short in this area. Oh, I need to I need to do this. I did this. Okay, that didn't work. I need to do that. And so it's just sort of like course correcting. So it's not necessarily a failure. It's like course correction. Okay, I see. It's disappointing though, obviously, because you want this thing and you don't get it. So it's a disappointment, but it's like, okay, I see what happened in this moment that caused me to not move forward. I need to make some changes. I need to do this instead of that. And then I'm going to get this. And that's, you know, just a series of course corrections is what I saw it as. You know, I recently had the opportunity to this is the cool thing that happened that made this industry very cool. It made it very, very cool.
Yeah.
It made me feel cool for like, this is so cool. And mind you, I've met a lot of people that very, very cool to meet, but you know, to have something personally happen to you. I went in to pitch to Disney for Princess Diaries 3. And I came up with a whole story and my idea and my conceit for it. And I was going up to Disney and I was like, oh my God, it's like so much pressure. You feel so stressed. And I had an initial call. They always want to talk to you first before they even want you to come in to see them. They're like, no, you're not just going to roll up onto Disney.
Yeah. We got to check you out first.
Let's talk to you first. How crazy are you?
Right.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much crazy do we really want to deal with? I would say I'm no crazy to deal with. Maybe at a 3. but in any case, we had a great conversation. Oddly enough, I think this truly was a selling point. I had met Meghan Markle. I met her when she was working on another film. She had a smaller title role. We sat and we were shooting it in Vegas, and we sat and we talked in between every take. And she was so nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could really be friends with this girl. She's so nice. I was like, I need some more really nice. You just don't. You're always like, you never have enough good friends.
No,
in your life, you just never have enough. But we weren't in LA, and we exchanged numbers, and we were like, when we get back to LA, we have to hang out. I was like, yeah, because you're just so cool. And there was a few days that we shot together, and every day we kind of chatted and was like, hey girl, what's up? And then, but the movie that I was working on, it was shooting in different places. And then, you know, I kept traveling. I was in London, and then I was in Italy with my husband, and then we were in Rome, and then we were all over Italy, and then we went somewhere. And then we finally got back to LA, and it's like almost 2.5 months later. And I was like, oh my gosh, this girl probably thinks I'm so flighty, because that's how LA is. Yeah. And I was like, and she's an actor, so I felt some kind of way about, oh, I don't know, you know how actors are. Does she really want to be my friend? And I was like, all the things women do. And I just never ended up calling her. And I just didn't call her. And it just stayed in my head. I was like, I really should call Meghan Markle. Like, I really should call her. Like, she was super nice. And I didn't use her last name like that. I should call Meghan. I should call Meghan. Like, she was super nice. I should
homegirl Meghan.
Yeah, I should really give her a call. I mean, I've never met anybody that super nice and smart and just like so down to earth. Make long story short, over the years, hearing this to call this person, I never called. I never ever called her, and I kept on thinking like, why did I call her? Like, and usually when I feel that way to call people, I pick up the phone and I call them because I'm like, something's happening in their life. I need to like talk to them, or they're supposed to tell me something, and I usually immediately call them. And I don't know why I didn't this time around, because it would have been really nice to hang out at the wedding. But nonetheless, I digress. The premise for Princess Diaries 3 was that she'd be biracial and she'd be a person of color. Not necessarily that was sort of the idea, and I just sort of ran with that. I was like, yes, I love that idea. I have a Black daughter, and I would really love to write that story. And I think having met the current princess, who happens to be a woman of color, Black and, you know, white, they were like, oh my gosh. I was like thinking to myself, but I didn't call her back.
I don't know, that time might be passed up.
But it was like 1 degree of separation in this very strange way. Like, oh, but you know her, and you had your number in your phone for at least a year, which I did until, you know, you changed phones and you update, and somehow all your numbers fall out. It's just like, what has happened?
Yeah.
You lose everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of the numbers that did not survive. But in any case, in any event, they were like, come back in. We'd love to hear more. So I came up with a story, a fun story. And it was like super like, oh my gosh, you know, you just leave all your nerves and you practice and I worked and I was like, I agonized over all the little documents that I had. And I was like, had all these note cards flying around everywhere. Like, and so I was like, okay, do or die, you know, it's going in. I was like, I'm going to sell this movie. And I had told God in the year, I was like, Lord, I want to be a feature writer and I want to go to a major studio and I want to get this movie, and I don't know how you're going to do it, but I know it's going to happen.
Hold on. You told him.
I told him.
Okay.
I did tell him. Tell him.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, Lord, so it's on you to figure that out because I don't know. That's you. And, you know, I do have agents. So I did have an agent, you know, who called me and said, are you interested? And I said, yes. And so now it's like, okay, God, this is the opportunity. This is what I had asked for. So I was like, I got to do right by it. And they did. They liked it. They loved it. They heard many other pitches, and I did get the job. So I ended up writing it, and I was working on All American at the same time. So it was super stressful to write a movie while you're concurrently working on a TV show. The experience was wonderful. It was great. So glad I had it. I'm new to writing feature films and writing for movies because I didn't know that they just kind of cycle through writers. They're like, they have like a jillion feature writers on one movie until they feel like, I don't know, they have this story. I don't know. It was very shocking. My husband has written many movies and he's like, yeah, that's just what the feature process is, but it was great. And the prayer was answered. And so I thought, this is so cool. And it still continues to be cool because eventually the movie at some point will come out. And that was the other thing with TV. I write something, I produce it, I co-write it with one of my fellow, you know, TV writers, and we're on set. We watch it happen. We're a part of every single process. We're in meetings after meetings to make sure props are in place, to make sure we have our right special effects, to make sure we are in every phase from start to finish of the script. And so it was so weird to be like, oh, I wrote it. Oh, that's it. Oh, yes, because I'm just the writer here on TV. I'm also the writer and producer. So it was like so surreal. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this anymore.
That's awesome,
but I'm sure I will do it again. It was very cool. I will probably wait till I'm not on a TV show, but it still continues to be one of the best things that I've done recently, because it did happen very, very recently, like last year. And so I still continue to be happy and pleased about the experience and with what I wrote. So yeah.
That's good stuff. You know, a story I have is so, you know, when my son and I would go get a haircut at the barbershop, and the barber always has on All American, right? Like always. Like we watch. I mean, we watch like repeat. I mean, like always, right? And so, you know, I'm editing, you know, some of the stuff from the footage that we did before, and I Google you, right? Like, yeah, I'm Googling you, right? And so I Google you, and I see like she writes for All American. I'm like, man, that's the show that like we would get out of here. Like I'm tripping, right? And so like that blew me away, and I thought that was really neat. That, you know, something, and then to even hear you talk about, you know, how like, you know, you're hands-on, you know, with in that process of not only was, you know, did I write, but like we're like all of it. And so, man, I think that's really neat, you know, just to see the journey, you know. So happy for you, so proud of you. The things that you're doing, you're telling God, that's fun.
I've done it before. I've done this before. It's not the first time I told God this. I was like, okay, God, it's time for me to be staffed on a television show. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I need you to make me on a show. I need you you to do what you do and put me on a show. Of course, I did have a conversation. You know, it's funny because once you make these declarations to God and say, do that thing for me, your assurity and your desire for it allows, God is sort of, I feel like he puts these things in you to where you make the decisions to open up the doors to happen. Because I did have a conversation with my husband. I was like, hey, you know somebody. Mind you, I've been friends with the person he knows this whole time. He was his ex-manager. I've known the man almost as long as my husband has known him. And he packed up, left the business. And I said, you call him and you tell him. And really, I don't know why I'm telling this to my husband. I had the man's email too. I literally could have called him and said, hey, could you pass my script along to whoever? Like,
yeah.
But I was like, out of courtesy, because he never represented me, you know, out of professional courtesy, even though we're married, it's for us, I think it's very important for us to have boundaries and lines.
Yeah.
Keep that professional courtesy there. So I was like, can you please tell him? I need you to tell him to read my stuff. And please, if he likes it, can he please pass it along? And so he did, and he really responded to it. He thought it was really great material, and he passed it on to one of his former clients who was a showrunner. And she read it and she really liked it. And I don't know if I told you the story before, Chip, but I was like, oh, maybe she just like being Hollywood nice. I was like, maybe she's just being Hollywood nice. She liked it, but she's not gonna hire me. And but sure enough, when the season
wasn't just Hollywood.
It wasn't Hollywood nice. She genuinely, legitimately loved the script.
Yeah,
writing is so subjective. And so she genuinely loved the script, and she gave me a call and she said, I really do like your work. And she was like, I'd really love to hire you to come on to be on the show. And this happened within a matter of months. And I did not have an agent at the time. I had a manager who had read a different script and was like so excited. She just thought my writing was great. And I at the time too was like, I need representation, God.
There you go.
I need representation, God. And so I went to this random meeting that my friend runs, and this manager was there. Actually, I didn't make it to that particular meeting. I wanted to, but I didn't make it to that. But my friend said, hey, this woman is looking for new voices. I'm going to send her your script. Is that okay? I said, yes, please do. Please send her my work. And I didn't know this woman from a can of paint. She called me and left the longest message. And I said, God, I need somebody who just is in love with my work and understands my writing and understands my voice. I don't want to hear anybody who's like halfway about it. I just need somebody who's just madly in love with what I do and my style. And she was like on and on for, I swear, a good 15 minutes on my voicemail. I was like, okay, this is so nice. I don't know if I can listen to long messages.
And you walk out of the room, you come back, like, you set the phone down.
It's still going. But, you know, God knows what you need. And he also, you know, when you ask for it. And so I was like, okay, well, obviously this is the person who should rep me. And she did. And she followed up on all the calls to get me the meetings that I needed. And I ended up getting staffed and ended up, you know, getting agents off of that. And, you know, so far I've just been, you know, working really hard. But also to your point about All American, it's funny because a lot of people don't realize that I work on the show until after the fact, because I'm terrible at, I guess, promoting myself. I have a few posts on Instagram, but that's about it.
but really, and I just want to jump in on that. I think that's the beauty of who you are and how you do what you do. Like, you know, like we've talked, you know, like before, like, you know, we've, you know, and even in our talking, like there's a lot of things you haven't just said, well, Chip, you know, I'm working on this, you know, like, well, Chip, this is my project. You know, you've seen this show, like, yeah, I've done that. You know, my husband, writes this, you know, like you, like never anything like that. And so I think that that's the beauty of who you are. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I reached out to highlight, you know, what you're doing, because, you know, just like you said at the beginning, it may just be work, but I'm just telling you from a guy that grew up with you, that knows you, that knows the person you are, the hard worker that you are, the values that you have. I think it's really neat to see what you're doing, you know, and I know that like those things don't just happen, right? You know, like, you know, like
it does
like,
not happen.
Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just don't, well, I guess you got to talk to God. And
you do have to talk to God. You do have to tell him what you want. You do have to tell him and believe that. I'm like, okay. Like, it's funny because when I tell him, I'm like, it's weird because you wish you could be that way every single time you talk to God. But, you know, there's those moments like the ones I told you about.
You get a burning desire where you know it's going to happen. I got to make this happen.
Yeah, like I'm telling you because I know you're going to do it. It's not because I'm asking a question. It's not because I think it's not going to happen. I know it's going to happen. So just do what you do to make that happen.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
But thank you, Chip. I appreciate you so much, and I have always thought so highly of you in school. You always the kindest, most generous, most warm-hearted person I have ever met, and I'm just so grateful that we're still friends and that we have, through what you're doing, which is so beautiful and so wonderful, that we have come back into each other's orbit. I'm just so wonderful and beautiful how God brings people back together.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those kind words. And like I said, I just wanted to come on and just kind of, talk the journey and let you know my cool experience, about my friend, and then, just kind of, share some of those stories which you did, which is cool. But really from it, just some things I picked up, really there's no failures. It's just learning lessons.
Yes.
You got to make sure you talk to God, tell him what you want.
Tell him what you want. He's on the main line. He's on the main line.
That's church right there.
Tell him what you. Oh yes, all day. You know my mama.
Yeah. That's it. And then the last point is, believe it and then go achieve it.
Yes, believe it. I think that's the hardest thing, is to believe it. Sometimes I'm constantly having to remind myself, like, some things when I'm like having the bigger ass, you get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when it gets too big, you're like, oh Lord. But it's like, I had a vision, like very, like in college maybe, where I just saw just the magnitude of God, like just how big he was.
Yeah.
And he was just so big. And the planet was like a tiny marble. It was like this big in his hand. It was that big. And I was like, wow. And I was like, oh, well, at that point, what can I not ask?
Yeah. Like
what is there that I cannot ask for at this point? Like, he's just too big. Like, I was talking to a friend about faith, and I said sometimes, because she was struggling with her faith, and she was struggling with her walk with God. And I was like, you know what? I think you're worried too much about the religion that you're in, because I don't think there's a religion big enough to hold the God that we try to serve.
Come on.
This is my husband.
Hello.
Hey.
I didn't mean to crash.
No worries, man.
You met Chip before. No, you haven't. You've only heard me talk about him.
What's going on?
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. But yeah, that's awesome, no doubt. But you got to believe it and then go achieve it. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. I wish you and your family continued success, and just know that we're rooting for you.
Thank you. And right back at you.
Yeah.
Rooting for you and everything you're doing.
Well, good deal. Well, thank you guys for checking out this session, this hangout and highlight session. We'll see you next time.
My husband crashing.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's real. I mean, it's what it is.
It's quarantine. This is what quarantine life is.
There you go.
I'm just glad my kid didn't come in here asking for a cake or something.
There you go. Well, thank you guys for checking out this session. We'll see you next time. God bless.
All right. God bless.
Go get it.